Okay, let's dive into something truly wild today. We've got this incredible old book, The Wonderful Adventures of Phra the Phoenician.
Right. Recommended way back in 1890 by someone who loved it.
Yeah, they said, I counsel everybody to read it, and the premise alone is just mind-boggling.
It really is. It's presented as a first-person account, from a man claiming he lived through centuries, waking up at different points in history.
And what's fascinating right from the start is how the source itself frames it. The narrator says about the facts he presents, those facts which you cannot believe, you must continue to doubt.
Which is quite the statement, isn't it? It positions itself as history, but immediately flags these completely extraordinary, almost impossible experiences after his first, say, 30 years.
It's like a historical account that dares you not to believe parts of it.
Exactly. It challenges our whole concept of what a historical account even is by embedding the unbelievable right inside it.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive then is to really treat this book as our universe of facts. You've given us these sources, and we're here to plunge into this text, pull out the core events Phra describes across these huge stretches of time.
Yeah, understand the shifts in time and place.
And really explore what insights this strange perspective might offer us on history, human nature, maybe even consciousness.
And we're guided solely by this account, navigating it together with you, the listener.
And the prologue really sets that stage, doesn't it? Phra introduces himself, admits his life is curious, past experience and credibility.
But insists he's setting things down exactly as I set them down. He's upfront about how incredible it all gets.
So where does this unbelievable adventure begin?
Well, naturally, with Phra the Phœnician in his first life, he starts as a merchant.
Sticking close to the coasts, he says, calls it a jolly, uncertain life.
But dangerous. Very dangerous. He talks about pirates they greatly dreaded who dropped down like falcons.
Grim stuff. He mentions seeing a captured galley with the whole crew.
Hanging in a row along her yard and swinging this way and that.
Yeah.
But the Romans, he notes, weren't much better.
No, he saw them capture a pirate boat and just drive the crew overboard like sheep and burned the boat.
It paints a really harsh picture of that world, doesn't it? Ancient sea trade was brutal.
Definitely. And his story really shifts when he hears tales about Britain.
Ah, yes. His curiosity is sparked. He sails north, sees Armorica, then the misty British shore.
A storm hits, pushes him into a landlocked haven, and that's where he meets Blodwen.
Brave girl, the book calls her, a British slave returning home.
Things move fast. He marries her before all the tribe, says he got rich by her constant favor.
And he describes her character in such interesting ways. Good princess, but very variable.
Variable is putting it mildly. Fierce one minute, urging her clansmen involved in a bloody sacrifice to Baal.
And then incredibly tender the next, tending wounds, weeping gracious, silent tears, humming to their blue-eyed little one. It's quite a contrast.
And Phra makes this powerful statement, looking back across centuries, saying he loved her better than I have ever loved any of those other women.
That really lands, knowing what's coming. It sets a high bar, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But their life together gets shattered pretty quickly by, well, history.
The Roman invasion, Caesar. Phra describes the proud Roman eagle descending.
He mentions signal fires were ignored, men and chariots were away fighting elsewhere. Bad timing.
Very bad timing. The Romans land, push the Britons back towards marshland. And he describes that Roman formation.
The long, stern line, the living rampart of steel.
Yeah. And the Britons didn't just roll over. They charged.
As the angry waves rush upon the immovable rocks, so rushed we upon them, he says. A wild uproar, a fierce contention.
But it's personal betrayal that leads to his apparent end.
Right, the high priest, Blodwen, turns on him.
Phra's horse gets speared, the last javelin quivering in his throat. He's down, vulnerable.
And the Romans just rode over me as though I were a shock of ripe corn.
Brutal. He gets captured by this Roman Sempronius Faunus and brought before Caesar.
The penman autocrat, Phra calls him. Quite a description.
Isn't it? Caesar questions him, then he's actually returned to the British camp. But Blodwen is terrified now.
And plots again, leading to that final blow.
With an adze, yeah. Strikes him between my neck and my shoulder.
And the description of dying. It's incredibly vivid, the black curtain of dissolution, the noise of 1,000 rivers tumbling into a bottomless cavern.
That sensory detail of expiring is so striking, it feels like a genuine account of death.
Right.
Which makes what happens next just bizarre.
Exactly, because he expired, but then he wakes up again. Chapter 3.
Described as little fluttering breaths like a newborn baby's, a tingling trickle of warm blood.
But he's not on the battlefield, he's in a tomb.
Yes, surrounded by fine, deep dust, remnants of fur and skins. Finds objects near him: dish, pitcher, sword, axe.
And then the kicker, he learns he's been asleep for how long?
400 years.
400 years. Imagine waking up to that.
Right, he breaks out and emerges into, well, a totally different world.
And the contrast. From the dark tomb to this beautiful limestone knoll, clothed from top to bottom with bluebells and primroses.
Beautiful scene, but his appearance, less so. After centuries underground, he's tawny and grim and unshaved and completely naked.
So much so that a girl mistakes him for a satyr.
Understandable, really.
Yeah.
And then comes maybe the strangest detail in the whole book.
Oh, the moving pictures.
The moving pictures on his skin. Blue and purple marks. More pictures on me than there are on an astrologer's celestial globe.
And they move like a whole constellation of dim, uncertain meaning rose and set upon my sphere.
He insists he was never tattooed. And one design near his heart
shows Blodwen pregnant. It's like his past, his memories are literally etched onto him, physically changing. It's unique.
Haunting is the word, I think. Like his history is externalized in this really bizarre way.
So he makes his way into Roman Britain centuries later, and he is not impressed with the Romans he finds.
No, his perception is scathing. He calls them degenerate Romans. Thinks their valor and hardihood and strength had sunk.
All focused on luxury, right? Silks and linens, front seats at the theater.
Mock armor, toy, peacetime swords, their perfumed presence. He just feels disdain for them compared to the legionaries he fought.
And amidst all this decadence, he meets Electra.
Ah, yes. The dramatic bull incident. It attacks her litter.
And Phra steps in, gave him the spear as he lowered his head, saving her.
But her reaction isn't just gratitude. It's angry triumph rather than fear. Civil thanks, but with this perceived fine passion behind that disdainful mask.
Intriguing. She asks his story.
She lies, smartly, calls himself a Scythian mercenary.
And she takes him on immediately. My excellent soldier, my centurion.
Yeah, she's depicted as beautiful, but dangerous, connected to the vice prefix talons, moody too, fierce and sullen, then gracious and melancholy.
And cruel, casually ordering a messenger to be thrown in a ditch, threatening henchmen.
Right. Phra becomes her petted paramour, a complicated figure, Electra.
And then there's the slave girl, Numidea.
Yes, the young British girl who reminds him so strongly of Blodwen, so like the ancestress she knew not of.
He feels a connection, takes her under his wing like a kinswoman.
And there's that small moment during a retreat from raiders. Phra asks if the little maid I had with me was okay.
It's a flash of genuine concern, isn't it? Especially compared to Electra, who's just cursing a servant for dropping something.
Exactly. It shows Phra's underlying character. His time with Electra ends, though, when he's swept away by a torrent during that retreat.
Setting up the next big jump.
And another inexplicable awakening. This time, he's in a monastery.
Found and looked after by a monk, Ambrose.
Who confirms Phra is the strange living mummy he found centuries before on Hills Senlac.
Senlac Hastings.
Precisely. Ambrose basically becomes his historian. Reads from a book, reveals Phra's been out for 500 years since the Romans left Britain under Honorius.
500 years. The monk is astonished, right? 500 years of solid life.
Yeah, he explains he found Phra when the tomb was threatened and preserved him. So this awakening puts Phra right after the Norman conquest.
From late Roman Britain to Norman England. Huge leap.
Huge. And he's immediately thrust into events. Sent with a message to Earl Harold.
Before Hastings.
Just before. But he arrives too late. Witnesses the Saxon defeat.
Sees William of Normandy's charge, the Black Charger, the sacred flag, a cursed ensign.
And seeing this pivotal moment, this massive shift in power, makes him question everything. Why am I thus chosen for this uncertain immortality?
A profound moment of disorientation.
Absolutely. And amidst all that chaos, after the battle, he sees a sleeping white girl.
Editha, Harold's sister.
Right. And he hears this whisper, connecting her straight back to his first life. Blodwen, blood is the my.
Wow. Even this new time, that echo of the past pulls him right in.
Instantly. He ends up living with the Saxons for a while at Vowood, a jolly, idle life, hunting, feasting with these dissolute thanes.
Becomes our master, even marries Editha.
But the new order, Norman authority, inevitably catches up. About 12 years after Hastings.
In the form of the Domesday Survey.
Exactly. A Norman abbot, pikeman, arrive to count things up, question Phra about his land.
And Phra's reaction is just pure defiance.
Total refusal. I will not answer you. I will not say how many pigeons, how many fowls. It's almost comical.
This ancient being versus medieval bureaucracy.
It's a fantastic clash, isn't it?
Yeah.
Timelessness versus the admin of a new era. He even quotes their Latin back at them.
But that defiance means trouble.
Of course. Norman men-at-arms show up. Phra, Editha, and Sven the Strong have to flee.
There's a tense chase. They're nearly caught by a campfire.
The horse's neigh went into the stillness, almost gives them away. Phra pulls a trick, makes his horse crash to cause a distraction.
Clever. But Editha's horse fails near a monastery.
Right. Phra bangs on the door, demands entry. They get in just as the Normans arrive.
And then the pattern repeats.
He wakes up again, inside a chapel this time.
Sees a monk confessing a knight, overhears cynical chat about relics and pardons.
A sign of the times, perhaps. The monk tells him hundreds more years have passed since William beat Harold.
Phra can't believe it. Yesterday, he calls it.
But the monk gives him the rundown. Becket, Richard Coeur de Lion, King John. Phra has to absorb the sheer scale of time he's missed. Again.
He leaves the monastery, grieving for Editha. Her fate isn't explicit, but it's implied she died on the journey or soon after.
Yeah, it's poignant. He wanders and notes something interesting. People seem to help him spontaneously, show him deference.
Like his ancient presence itself commands respect, or maybe awe.
Possibly, but he's still wary of Normans. Mutters, ho ho, a Norman villain, when he sees them.
And he dislikes the fawning poet, the pardoner selling indulgences in bad Norman Latin. He seems unimpressed by the performative aspects of the age.
Definitely. He gets rich again, apparently by raiding that old burial mound gold.
Buys fine clothes, hires a dodgy henchman. Quite the image.
It is. This ancient warrior in fancy clothes with a cheat for a servant. He arrives at a great lord's castle, observes the mix of people.
And feels all his past lives within him, right? The Phoenician merchant, Electra's paramour, the Saxon thane, all beneath the finery.
Exactly. His identity is layered. And at this castle, he meets two sisters.
Eleonora and Isobel.
Eleonora is stately, reminds him of Electra. Isobel is fair, tender, merry.
Reminds him of Blodwen. Wonder is pleasant to look at the very opposite of her sisters. The pattern repeats.
It really does. And a fatal love triangle starts to form. He feels drawn to Isobel. The slighted girl was growing upon me. He's in love like many another good soul.
But Eleonora loves him.
Clearly. He also befriends Flammacour, Isabel's companion. He hears someone describe Isobel best shot, marry or romp, which cements his decision to pursue her.
And he publicly snubs Eleonora at a tournament, riding over the flowers she throws him.
Ouch! Escalates things dramatically. And then there's that fascinating moment where his personal history becomes public myth.
Oh, right. He overhears Lord Codrington talking about a living relic he met centuries ago.
And the description, the saint's terrifying appearance, his words, it's obviously a distorted, mythologized version of Phra himself from an earlier awakening.
It's amazing. Shows how stories warp over time, doesn't it? Turning complex reality into simplified legend.
Absolutely. Then, before a battle, Phra asks Flammacour to write a letter to Isobel for him.
And Flammacour refuses dramatically. Heart damned and choked with a cruel affection.
Revealing his own secret love, clearly for Isobel. Phra finally gets it. Between us three sprang up two, alas, how fatal chains of love.
He walks right into these situations, doesn't he?
He seems fated to repeat these patterns. This emotional mess sets the stage for the next big historical event he's part of. Crazy.
Serving King Edward III now. He describes the retreat, finding the ford, the English position on that gentle ridge sloping down to a little brook.
Fortified with a trench. He notes the silence before battle, that strange pause, broken by a page's shout.
King Edward gives a speech. Stand firm today. Every blow that struck is struck for England. Warning of the hungry hordes.
Rousing stuff. And the battle description is intense. Genoese broken by arrows, cavalry charges failing.
Brutal. Hand-to-hand fighting. Crimson blood went smoking down. Bodies filling the ditch, becoming a broad rampart.
He praises the English yeomen, that impenetrable living wall.
And Phra himself leads his veterans. 500 of us, knit close together, charging the French flank with one heart beating one measure.
He's still a warrior after all this time, and this is where the Flammacour mystery unravels tragically.
He sees Flammacour fighting beside him like they two were one, noting Flammacour parries more than attacks.
Then Phra's horse goes down. Flammacour jumps in front, takes a spear full in his side, falling with Phra.
Phra kneels beside him.
And discovers it's Isobel, disguised. She swapped places with Flemmiker to be near him.
Oh my God, she confesses her love, admits she thought he was cruel, describes his battle scars, the mace marks.
Begs him for comfort, to hear he loves her just once, and then she dies in his arms.
Devastating. Phra groaned in bitterness. King Edward respects his grief.
Monks arrive, offer ransom or vigil. He refuses. And while watching her body, something strange happens.
Her face seems to flicker, revive slightly.
Yes, then settles. And that strange nothing phenomenon stirs again. He feels love for Blodwen surge, sees a shadow linked to both Blodwen and Isobel.
A conflict of love and fear.
The shadow speaks my Phoenician. Her face shows inexplicable knowledge, extraordinary felicity, then vanishes.
Leaving him utterly alone. Soldiers arrive at dawn, refer to your good lady, sir. Just twists the knife.
It does. He leaves the army, gives away his horse, takes Isabel's, sails for England, right into a violent storm.
Icy midnight sea. Does he survive?
He does. Washes ashore near an old druid burial mound, recognizes it, Ufner of the reeking altars.
And then, in a moment of almost dark comedy,
He overhears thieves talking about the gold inside the mound. His gold from centuries before.
so he takes some and leaves. Robs his own past self.
Seems like it. He then meets an old man near the mound, Andrew Falconer.
Strange character description. Face showing cunning and gentle birth. Phra feels distrust, but also drawn to him.
Right. When asked his qualities, Phra gives that layered answer. A man of many qualities in my time, sir. Falconer seems both scared and fascinated by Phra.
They go to Faulkner's mansion, which is ruinous, ghastly.
Yeah. Phra describes the ruined house, the weird meal, the host's wise mad features.
Ever the survivor, Phra finds a sword, a Toledo blade, and arms himself. Finds it wondrous comfortable.
Faulkner says something chilling, too. His household stranger sleeps on forever. Phra gets lost in the confusing layout later, adding to the disorientation.
He wanders the grounds the next day.
Yeah.
And feels that intense familiarity again.
Yes. Knows the landscape intimately. Surely I have seen all this before. Knows each swell and hollow. That connection to place across time.
Back in the house, he finds something heartbreaking.
Isabel's torn dress from Cressy, the one his sword had run it through and through, still with a rose and love knot. He searches for her body again, but can't find it. Her fate remains a mystery.
And he sees a vision.
Of Emmanuel Marcena. Grim face, yellow eyes, digging up money. Phra feels a tie, but dislike. Follows the vision, but it vanishes. More mystery.
He wakes up again, another small sleep, in a sunny part of the house. Meets Elizabeth Falconer.
Young. Fair. She knows about Cressy, suggesting more time has passed. Describes her father's fallen fortunes.
She leads him to her father, Andrew, who's now in a fort.
Obsessed. A mad philosopher, frantic, working on his secret, lovely monster.
Phra helps him build it, this giant iron automaton with flails.
Yes. And they test in the Dark Forge. It's dangerous, dodging the machine. Falconer's completely mad, calling it his pretty lady, even fighting fraud during the test.
Sounds terrifying. Phra also finds a museum room.
Full of relics from different times. And there, Falconer finds an old book about treasure buried nearby, on that hillock Phra recognized.
He wants Phra to dig, predicts Phra will be awed and regretful, right? You shall start at what you find, pluck your beard in dumb chagrin.
Exactly. They go to the hillock. Phra feels that intense remembrance again. And who reappears?
The immortal gray hedgeman.
The very same. Just says, they told me you would come again. And helps them dig.
And they dig up bodies.
From an ancient battle. Hastings. Or Phra's first death site against the Romans. It's implied to be one he was present at.
He recognizes the scene, the bodies, objects like loaves, a knife, a snapshot of death from centuries ago.
Imagine unearthing history you actually lived through. The impact must be immense.
Amidst all this darkness, though, there's a bit of light, his relationship with Elizabeth.
Yes, he courts her. She visits him in the forge. He makes her silver trinkets. It's described as sunshine in the grime.
A moment of warmth in the ruin. Then, back in the museum room, Phra finds something incredible.
His own great unfinished diary. The book itself. He reads the final entry.
Bringing us right to the end of his account. What happens?
The diary describes winning Elizabeth. But then Emmanuel Marcena, the man from the vision,
offers her a drink. Poison.
Yes. Phra feels himself dying, shaking my iron fabric, tries to attack Marcena, that lean, hungry face.
It has a final vision.
Shades appear. And then Blodwen, his first love. She says, my Phoenician, touches him, life fades.
His last words recorded, Blodwen, I come, I come.
That completely cyclical ending.
Yeah.
Back to the beginning, the first love, echoing aspects of his first death. tragic.
So after all that, why spend time with this wild, unbelievable story from 1890?
That's a fair question. I mean, despite the impossible premise, the sleeps, the tattoos, the visions, the immortal hegemon.
It offers this incredibly unique perspective, doesn't it? And an intensely personal view across vastly different historical periods.
Exactly. You feel the sweep of history, empires rising and falling, cultures changing, technology. But through it all, you see these recurring human things.
Love, loss, betrayal, war, the search for meaning. They're constant, even if the backdrop changes entirely.
And his immortality, these interrupted centuries, it really throws the fleeting nature of normal human life into sharp relief. It highlights historical change on a scale that's hard to grasp otherwise.
It also really digs into memory and identity, doesn't it? How his sense of self is built from these layers of experience.
Carried physically, too, with those bizarre moving tattoos. And the mental echoes, the recurring loves, reminding him of Blodwen and Electra, the familiarity with landscapes.
It's cyclical. What does it even mean to be one continuous consciousness carrying, over 1,000 years of memory and loss through such huge change?
His identity is like a palimpsest, layers upon layers of different eras.
And the way the book weaves real history. Roman invasion, Hastings, Cressy, Doomsday, real figures like Caesar, Harold, William, Edward III.
Into this deeply personal, fantastical story of awakening. It grounds the impossible in actual timelines. It blurs that line between historical fact and personal myth.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on.
Phra's story within the narrative is presented as fact. His history, recorded as I set them down.
But it's packed with impossible elements by our standards. Sleeping for centuries, the moving tattoos showing the past, visions of the dead, immortal beings.
So what does this mix verifiable history alongside the utterly impossible suggest about the account itself?
Is it meant to be taken as literal history within its own fantastical rules? Or is it more of a metaphor?
Yeah, like a commentary on how the past echoes, how it leaves marks, influences the present. A way to explore enduring human experiences across time.
Or maybe something else, a literary game playing with time, memory, storytelling itself.
It really leaves you thinking about that blurry line, doesn't it? Between lived experience, memory, the stories we tell, and how those stories can twist into legend over the centuries.